Hey, what's up guys? So in today's video, we're going to be going over how it seems like we might now know why Naughty Dog has yet to announce anything new for the PS5. And so we're going to be reading from PlayStation Lifestyle, where the headline reads, "Here's why Naughty Dog isn't announcing its new game yet." There's a good reason we're still awaiting a new Naughty Dog game announcement. Studio co-president Neil Druckmann finally opened up about the lack of an official reveal during an interview with Comic Book, arguing what many game developers have come to realize: announcing new games early isn't a great idea. Druckmann told Comic Book that Naughty Dog ended up announcing Uncharted 4: Thief's End and The Last of Us Part 2 a tad early, which ended up disrupting work-life balance because developers were under pressure to meet deadlines. Quote, "We did announce Uncharted 4 and The Last of Us Part 2 way in advance, but that actually caused a little bit of the work-life balance issues that we've sometimes had at the studio. By delaying that announcement a bit, we could play with the schedule more, and we're more conscious now about how we're approaching production. So there's our The Last of Us multiplayer project, and there's another project that I will not say anything about that's beyond that we're also very much excited for," unquote. And so yeah guys, it seems like we now know why we still haven't really known what Naughty Dog is up to when it comes to the PS5 generation as far as this Last of Us multiplayer game. There's been rumors of them doing a new IP, like a open world fantasy. There's been rumors of The Last of Us Part 3. And the only thing we've gotten so far from Naughty Dog when it comes to the PS5 is The Last of Us Part 1, which that was a remake. And I'm not even going to count the 60 FPS patch for Part 2, even though that was only for the PS5. But like a 60 FPS patch doesn't really count. And so yeah, pretty much they've only done a remake so far. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not worried at all about Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog is the best at what they do, and they've just been really hard at work on this Last of Us game. I mean, yeah, I hope that the next game that comes out after this Last of Us Online game is The Last of Us Part 3, but don't get me wrong, if it ends up being like Naughty Dog announces a new IP, even though I would prefer Part 3, I would still be very, very excited for a new IP from Naughty Dog. I mean, after all, they are my favorite developers, and I will pretty much play absolutely anything that they make. And so yeah, I mean, the reasoning why Neil Druckmann is saying why they haven't announced things is because they have already messed up when it comes to announcing games too early, back whenever they first announced Uncharted 4: Thief's End and The Last of Us Part 2. Now, I don't really know when Uncharted 4 was announced, but The Last of Us Part 2 got revealed back in December of 2016, and the game didn't come out until June of 2020. Now, I know the game was originally, whenever we first got that first release date trailer, I believe it was sometime in February of 2020. And I mean, obviously the game got delayed a couple more times. And I mean, I've always had that same mentality. It's like, okay, if you had two options, right? And let's say option A, it could be, would you rather a studio announce a game, but then you find out that it's in very early development and it's not coming out for like 3 to 4 years? Or would you rather have option B, where let's say we have to wait maybe a couple more years for new game announcements, but whenever those games get announced, they end up releasing within like 6 months to at most a year? Like me personally, I would go with option B. Like imagine like your favorite studio announces like a sequel to one of your favorite games of all time, and then it turns out that that game isn't coming out for like 3 more years. Like, would you be more excited for that, or would you rather it be like, oh, a sequel to your favorite game of all time from your favorite developer, they reveal the sequel, and then you find out that, oh, it's coming out in 6 months, or it's coming out in a year, even though you would have to wait an extra like 2 or 3 years for that announcement? I just feel like that would make more sense to me. Like, that would get me more excited. I mean, don't get me wrong, like when new games get announced and they're like, and they look really good, whether it's new IP or if it's a sequel, finding out that it's coming out very, very soon, it just makes me more excited. I just think that makes more sense. But, it probably means that we would have to wait a few more years for announcements. And so, yeah, guys, I just found this very interesting coming from Neil Druckmann. And I honestly get where he's coming from, and it makes sense. And I actually agree with Naughty Dog choosing this way to hold off on announcing games until they're ready. That way they can try to avoid crunch and having to balance that work-life relationship, and to avoid delays as much as possible. And so, yeah, guys, what do you think down below? Let me know your thoughts on Neil Druckmann coming out and saying pretty much the reason why they haven't announced any new games for the PS5 is because they want to wait until the games pretty much come out closer to launch, and they don't reveal games like years in advance. Just let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed it or found it informative, drop it a like, hit the subscribe button by turning on the post notification bell so you don't miss my next upload. Until next time, guys, take care.